Good evening, everybody. It's the funky old wolf with you tonight. Got a little bit of my demons rattling off to open up the show. Thank you for everybody joining us. It is, again, the Witch and the Wolf Wisdom Podcast live. It's 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The last day of the January 2023. And yes, tonight's episode, Dungeons and Disasters. Yes, some interesting little things. Later on this evening, my son, the Indigo Monkey, is going to join us for some discussions in the realm of Dungeons and Dragons and some of the dynamics that not only relate to us personally as a family, but also, I think, a great example of the dynamic of strength in numbers and what a bunch of pissed off fucking nerds can actually get done. And it's hopeful. And again, I believe, and it's my show, we're talking about. So we're going to talk about that a little bit later tonight. We're going to talk about some of the submissions that we've been getting for the Wolf Pack. Thank you very much, everybody who's been sending stuff in. Been really getting some nice stuff. I'm going to announce this month's winner for the free private tarot reading with the witch herself. Woohoo! The witch, the Lady Shiya.
The witch is here.
Yes, she is.
The witch.
Brother Jonathan, great to see you. Thank you for joining us.
Jonathan.
So yeah, just so everybody knows in advance, and I'll mention it again when I hit this. This is purely a random thing. This is not based on the strength of the story, or the submission, or the art, or the song, or whatever. It's not about who was better, who was worse. Just totally random. It's the only fair way that Shiya and I both felt really to do this, because we want to encourage people. Also in the dynamic, a lot of the stories were submitted as anonymous. So in that spirit, we have been maintaining that. So the person who won, I may have done their story 2 weeks ago. I might do it tonight. But in fairness, again, it's not the person. It is the message. Yes, I know it still applies. And, well, we might as well, because you're here and you've mentioned it. And I have it up here, and I just gotta get to it. And I know it was something odd. I just don't know where. Was it this? No. Was it that? No. Was it that? No. Was it that? No. And of course it wasn't that either. What the fuck? Well,
fuck, man.
I think somehow. Yeah, I know. It's a shitstorm out there for you guys. Everyone listen. Anybody out there in the Midwest under this ice storm, listen, try your best.
Fucked up.
Don't fuck with it. Mother Nature she's not playing. Okay? It's not your fault. The blame game doesn't really help. This is about, hey, everybody just taking care of themselves and the people around them and being safe. So, hang in there. This too shall pass. Yeah, I have the fucking thing somewhere, Jonathan, and I don't know where it went, so it may have to come out next week. This is the thing when you do a live podcast. You know what I mean? Technical issues, you deal with them on the fly. I have it stored in one of the dynamics of one of the folders somewhere, and it did not load into the OBS. So at this moment, I do apologize, brother. I don't have it, but I promise
Your
you.
name was entered in the hat.
Yeah, well, listen, everybody who submitted something got submitted in the hat. But again, it wasn't about whose was better or whose was worse. It was just really a simple dynamic. Everybody who participated, bang, literally, Shiya basically was like, okay, this one. And really, we just put numbers on it.
Pick it. Yeah.
We put numbers on it. We corresponded, bang, and that's just how it worked out. But we're going to do it every month. So, again, the only dynamic is send it to us at oldwolfmusic.com. Really, it's just that simple. If we put it on air, you get entered into it.
Yep. And we will pick somebody every month.
So, a couple different dynamics, again, with the whole dungeons and disasters dynamic. I started the show again, as I mentioned, with demons because it is one of the elements not only reflected within the game, but also reflected within our lives. There's an old saying, art tends to imitate life. So we create a lot of these dynamics, right or wrong, good or bad, and they exist in a whole myriad of different forms. And it's worth noting, and again, for whatever this is worth, and I believe this really with all of my heart, talking about it is really our best defense. Because that's where we can really work through a lot of these dynamics, is where we can come to elements of understanding, compromise, acceptance. Again, however you want to twist it and however you really want to frame it, it is the only real process that works. And it's not a 100% thing, because there is always the case to be made that we have to sometimes be in the right place at the right time. So you can send the same message 1,000 times over, and 999 times it won't get through. But it's on that 1,000th time, because of that context, that variable, time, place, person, whatever the fuck it may be, that now the message, it gets through, and then it makes the impact. Or the other analogy, you plant a seed, and sometimes it doesn't grow right away. It lays there, and it needs, again, the proper environmental dynamics, the catalyst, the sun, the warmth, etc., for it to actually sprout. And then even from there, the process of actually growing and making it to a place to bear fruit, it is a process of time that we, as mere mortals, we can't always control. We can influence it sometimes, but not all the time.
The only thing we can really control is our own reactions to things.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, we can manipulate. I believe that there's a big difference between manipulation and control, and it's really just kind of a perceptional based thing. We choose to look at things particular ways, and we're conditioned to translate them into certain things. And, some of the dynamics that we share a lot of times, the core elements, the empathy, we'll say, is consistent, but, just like there's many different flavors of ice cream, there are many different flavors of happiness, many different flavors of pain, many different flavors of love. So, again, you can still have a spectrum, you can still have those unique dynamics, but they can still be within something that we can find that common understanding. And yes, as my brother says, those lines can get blurred at some point. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. That is the paradox. There is no 100%, and half the battle is being able to, in the moment, recognize. And
being adaptable, as you said.
Being adaptable, absolutely. And again, perspective being what it is, we can't always see that. Now, one of the things, Shiya and I both involve ourselves in a couple of different dynamics is, engaging in different frames of conversation, different circles.
Well, it's like you say, as we talk things out, that's our biggest therapy, is to be able to talk things out and being able to talk to other people about things that are going on. It can bring up some very interesting and much needed conversations.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. And it was one of the things I wanted to kind of really start off the night and go about things a little bit differently in the framework of a conversation that was being had amongst a group of people. And names and stuff will remain anonymous, as they should a lot of times, for whatever the reasons. And I believe in that. We're not always comfortable having a public face to these dynamics. We're conditioned to think that our emotions don't count, that our feelings are invalid, and more importantly, that our opinions are not wanted.
Or that fear that somehow we're going to be judged.
Right. Judgment is always a spin, and many times we're the most judgmental we'll overanalyze and spin in our own self-loathing, you know what I mean? And again, as my song kind of relates, we create our own demons a lot of times. We dance with them.
Yeah, we'll spend more times being self-critical and judgmental on ourselves and think that maybe other people are thinking this when other people are really just typically don't.
Yeah, well, I mean, again, it is what it's going to be. Marsha, how you doing? Thank you for joining us. So, again, within the framework, keeping everybody anonymous, conversations going on. And, some of the dynamics of the conversation were relating to relationship dynamics. And those relationship dynamics, again, within this specific context, was about some of the variables in being a single parent and juggling the realities, not only of relationships, but the world in general, in how especially empathy comes into play. And one of those dynamics, and again, it hit a very deep chord within me. As a, again, I was a single parent. I raised my son, you know what I mean, through a lot of insanity. And in that process, one of the most important coping tools that I had was my fucking humor. My humor, in many ways, was my defense against really just falling down some horrible fucking holes. And, the narrative here, the point of this is one of the people in the conversation made a statement basically about how they felt that was wrong, that it was somehow avoiding the dynamics of how they felt. And the first thing that jumped into my mind is that, that sounds like some fucking conditioning there, because, empaths, people in general, always told, don't feel that way, you shouldn't feel that way, bop, 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 bop. We're always fucking told, you know what I mean, this is not important, you're not important. So immediately my mind was like, that sounds like a fucking trigger of somebody who's been dismissed and invalidated.
Oh, yeah.
Because I know from my personal experience that humor is real magic. That's fucking how we deflect, how we protect ourselves and the people around us from the catastrophic damage that sometimes emotions will do to us, especially when you're dealing with horrible shit, when you're dealing with a broken marriage or betrayal, or you're living, on the streets, or any number of fucking homeless analogies, as Marsha would say.
It's like that old saying, it's either laugh or cry. Sometimes it's laugh or fall apart.
Well, right. So, again, when you're caught in the framework, and just to kind of give the background picture, as a single parent, you're not just responsible for yourself, you're now responsible for this other life. So we don't get the benefit of fucking falling apart. And I've had this conversation with a lot of people through support group, different aspects over the years. In that analogy, it's a common theme. So we turn it internally. We fucking bottle it up, or it comes out in other horrific kind of, self-damaging behaviors. And it was really, again, emphasized that sometimes the lesser evil is the right thing. It's not about anybody else's perspective, because nobody else is there in the fucking moment. So if you're dealing with something horrible and the emotions are overwhelming, if it's a choice between some other fucked up dynamic or making it into dark humor, guess what? Dark humor every day, every minute of every fucking week.
And
because that's the lesser evil. That's practical and it's honest.
Yep.
And you think about it, and I've used this dynamic a million times, literally, and I hope I get to use it a million more. Sometimes humor is the only thing that will lessen the pain, that will deflect against the chaos, the despair, again, whatever horrible fucking word you want to stamp on it. That humor is magic. Yes, that's not something that, I don't believe, at least, my opinion, my experience. No one should ever be told that that's a bad thing. Sure, maybe sometimes it's inappropriate, you know what I mean? The the horrible analogy that, you know, you don't make a joke about a dead person at their fucking funeral. Okay, yeah,
unless the
I
dead
get
person
it.
would have appreciated it.
But that's the exception, not the rule, even if it's just in your own fucking head to keep yourself from spinning out. But also, more importantly, when you're dealing with children, the last thing that most of us, again, especially as single parents, is we don't want our bullshit carrying over onto our kid. We don't want our pain, our despair, our fear now poisoning the very thing that we're trying to protect. So again,
I will say there is context. You always say context. There is a difference between using humor to deflect a negative situation and then using humor to completely avoid dealing with something.
It's context. It's context. Yes. But as a baseline, I believe, and again, I said it, you know, in the dynamic of this conversation, and I will say it here publicly, I believe that is a beautiful living example of what real magic is. And there's lots of things that you can say are examples of real magic, but the ability to take a shitty situation and to put humor into it, that's fucking magical.
Yes.
Okay? Because the real truth, if we're having, as I like to say, the honest conversation, is that so many people of every minute, of every day, of every fucking week, they fall into that hole. Okay? They fall into places that they don't come back from.
Yep.
Okay? And if anybody doesn't think that there isn't a fucking catastrophic toll on the other end, I am sorry, no offense. Yeah. You obviously are not paying attention to what's going on. And I understand that. Okay? That's not a criticism. It's not a shot. We all see what we want to see, and nobody wants to look out their window at fucking horror. So we tend to avoid certain dynamics, but people drowned in despair and loneliness and all these other horrible dynamics, again, every minute of every fucking day.
Yeah.
So having the ability to even deflect some of that, that's powerful. That's Gandalf level magic, as far as I'm fucking concerned.
And I have to just jump in real quick and say,
yes.
Good evening, Assassin Queen.
Ah, yes. My sister, Diana, has come.
Dominique,
who's on the hit list tonight?
Uh-oh.
And how you doing down there in the sunny southern lands where it's not fucking cold? I hate you, by the way.
Yes, I was telling you the other day when they were telling me it was 60 degrees where they were. Actually, it was Elizabeth Brown who was telling me, oh, yeah, she's on the live last night. She's like, oh, yeah, it was 60 degrees and sunny here in Maryland today. I'm like, fuck, I hate you.
Yeah, I'm telling you what, I'm getting more, you know, winter is great from a scenic perspective, like on a fucking postcard. But I just about had
achy joints.
Not enough. You know, I did just everything about it, you know. And this is the worst time of year for me. So I will use humor fucking consistently to just deal with my own, you know, shit. I don't like the cold. I don't like the kind of, you know, everything's not quite alive. It's gray. You know what I mean? It's just, you know what I mean? There's no energy in it for me. And, you know, the certain little other conditioned, you know, dynamics. Shiya will tell you, I hate my fucking birthday. I avoid it like the fucking plague. If I could rip it from the calendar and throw it into the abyss, I would gladly sell my soul. Okay, by the way, I said that publicly so that way any demons listening know exactly what's on the table when we decide to barter. I only have one simple thing: remove my birthday from the calendar.
No.
And I mean really remove it. I'm talking about like that date no longer exists. Like we jump from the one day before to the next day. You know what I mean? It's like a skip in an old fucking album. So the song just playing along, there's all of a sudden...
So you don't want February 6th to exist anymore?
Oh, you're a fucking... What the fuck just happened? See, again, when you're doing a live show...
Ooh, the the witch can sneak shit in like February 6th.
Oh my God, you really just know. Just, we're gonna, see, I don't even, see, that's fucked up, Marsha. I saw that. I saw that. I'm gonna remember that fucking name. Marsha.
Oh, she's never heard that before.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, listen, but I'm okay with that. I can joke about it. That's my defense mechanism. I can make shitty humor about it. You know what I mean? I joke with my son all the time, and it drives him batshit. I'm just like, Billy, pull the plug, Billy. Billy, do it.
Stop it.
Let me go, Billy, please. Just pull the plug. Somebody, please. What year, please? Oh, no. No. Old enough to know better. Let's just say it that way. But not as old as Keith Richards.
Nope,
Those are the two ends of the goalpost. Old enough to know better and not older than fucking Keith Richards. As long as you're in that spectrum, you're good to go. You know what I mean? Because I don't want to be that guy because listen, experience, I know a lot of people that are younger that have more wisdom than people 3 times their age. Fuck you, 6, really? Oh, okay. I thought you were gonna. I'm sorry. I thought she was trying to play off that I'm 69.
No.
That had better be a sly sexual reference.
No.
Because I ain't ready for that number.
No.
You're close, but no.
Are you gonna let her guess?
No, I don't want to play this game anymore.
Come on, it's fun.
I did want to go with you to Pacific Playland.
No, it wouldn't be the episode number.
Oh my God. Why must you?
Younger.
Listen, age is a concept. And listen, every age is beautiful. I don't want to make...
I'm 1975.
Yeah, that's why I didn't want to put my shit out there, because now it becomes everyone else's reflected dynamic and everyone else is going to panic. And that's what happens. It's the mob mentality. Now everybody's going, oh my God, am I too old? Am I too young? What am I going to do? What am I going to do?
I'm proud of your age.
It doesn't matter.
Accomplishment.
We all have our, again, especially high-functioning empaths, we have our own internal spins. Like, yeah, listen, again, I'm fucking gray. My fucking teeth have gotten knocked out.
And your shit's
I'm a fucking broken shit show for all intents and purposes.
Yeah, but
I also really don't give a fuck. You know what I mean? To the degree, like, hey, listen, take it for what it is. I don't pretend to be anything that I'm not. Or at least I try not to. I'd like to believe I'm not so arrogant that, I fuck up. And people are welcome to call me out on that. And I try to the best of my ability, again, unless you're a child molester or a Scientologist. And that's my kind of running joke. Those are the two ends of the spectrum that, yeah, we can't have a conversation. Thank you. Your hubby is 68. He's old. Wow. I just feel so much better. Ha ha ha. Yeah, listen, it is what it is. We get old. You can't stop it. You just got to enjoy the ride. This is the way that I look at it. Listen, the guys in Metallica are fucking older than me, and they're still out there fucking going berserkoid. You know what I mean? Keith Richards is still somehow figuring out a way. I don't know, but it gives me enough of a dynamic to say, all right, I'm okay. I can live with this. So back to the earlier conversation before we got sideswiped by the witch name.
No,
the witch formerly known as Shiya.
You started it.
No, I didn't start shit.
Yes, you did.
But anyway, the dynamics of humor, incredibly powerful. I preach this all the time, but it is also reflective of another dynamic, and that is strength in numbers. We need to share the dynamics of what's going on with us, even if it is mistranslated or framed behind dark humor, because without it, we don't have the benefit of the outside perspective. We, especially again, as parents, are emotionally compromised when it comes to our children. There's no way around it. The very fact that you care puts you into an emotionally compromised situation. It is a paradox, but it is what it is. Mm-hmm. That's what makes parenting so much fun. But also in the dynamic, too, we forget real quick as adults, especially when we're forced into the parent-child role, of how quickly the human mind really develops. And especially if you're doing it right, your kids are going to be smarter than you before you fucking know it. And that's the way it should be. Like, again, for as much as I thought I was protecting my son knew more about what was going on at 13 than I did as a grown fucking man. All right. And it was like getting dick punched. Okay. Really. I felt my testicles crawl back up into my body and do a mariachi dance.
Oh my.
Okay. And it wasn't a fun dance. It took a little bit for my ego to accept the shit that I was hearing. And it wasn't because I believed that it was wrong. I just could not get my head around thinking that all this that I had done to deflect and to protect and to make sure that this shit didn't cross over, I was wrong. So very, very wrong. Now, again, retrospect being what it is, it gives us that beautiful luxury of being able to look back at things and say, okay, maybe I should have made a left turn at Albuquerque. But the other dynamic is sometimes we have to experience shitty things. It's the only way we learn. It's the only way that we get a comparison many times to what actually is good for us versus some fucked up conditioning. And I hate to say it, but it really happens all the time. And I'll use an analogy, and I apologize to anybody in advance that this may or may not be a trigger for, but those of you who know me, I believe in speaking in open, honest terms.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to share it in its pure dynamic, and it was one of the things that was submitted to us, and it's a very short dynamic, and it was basically from a guy who was, for all intents and purposes, groomed as a child sexually by somebody within the clergy, and he was basically conditioned through his childhood and his teenage years into believing that he enjoyed a particular dynamic, aka sucking dick. Okay? To realize in his 30s that he really didn't, and he never did. And it's not that he begrudges anybody else, but it wasn't really who he was. But because that's what he was exposed to, that's what he was conditioned to believe, and that's the way that his story played out, and that was reinforced over a number of years. He translated that as the only true expression of sexuality. And many times we confuse sexuality with love. And especially
or connection.
And you know, and especially for an empath, those energies, and again, this was part of the framework of the conversation, is that sexual, romantic energies are some of the most powerful dynamic. They are like a fucking drug. Yeah. Okay, they can completely fuck you up. You can drown in them. They can be great. Don't get me wrong. All right, I don't want to come across as being one of those people, because I'm not.
No, he's definitely not.
Anything out of context or out of balance potentially can be bad. Yeah. But especially when you're trying to juggle these elements and then be a fucking single parent over the back end of it, it's a fucking circus, and it's not easy. But these are, you know, some of the dynamics that we run into along the way. Is that how do you find the balance? You know, the route that I took is I avoided it. I did not have any relationships. I avoided women like the plague, quite literally, and I settled myself into this comfortable little whoop of being dad. And not only did I take care of my own son, but I took care of a whole bunch of other people's kids along the way, because it helped fill in the blanks and it gave me more of a reinforcement to hide behind. And it took me until my son graduated and started doing his own thing, and I was kind of left in this free fall of, wow, what do I do now? I don't have to get him up for school anymore. I don't have to make his lunches. I don't have to make sure he does his homework. I don't have to get him, you know, to this place, that place. It was just literally, oh my God, I don't have an identity anymore.
Almost the empty nester without the empty
nest. Right, and then just fucking found myself just, again, completely unable to relate to the other end of the coin because I had conditioned myself to be okay with being alone. And it's just as fucking dangerous. Now, again, flip side of the coin, and the joke that I had made is we can't obviously just let our kids go off into any crazy particular situation. In other words, if you have a Father Flanagan in your neighborhood who's a fucking child molester and he wants to do a sleepover with your son over at fucking Michael Jackson's fucking Playland, you have every right to be like, yeah, no, fuck you. That ain't happening, and my kid doesn't need that particular fucking experience. Okay? Totally justified. If you see your kid getting ready to jump off a fucking cliff, you have every right to grab him by his fucking hair and drag him the fuck back for his own good. But there are also the times and the cases, and I made the example analogy, I had to watch my son get his heart broken by his first girlfriend. I had to step back. I had to let that play out, even though I knew that she was a little fucking piece of shit. But it wasn't my place. I kept my fucking mouth shut. Same dynamic watching what my son's mother, you know, between the aspects of abandoning him when he was younger and then floating in and out of his life a couple of times and some of the abusive dynamics culminating with her fucking killing herself. Throughout that whole fucking process, I took the high ground. Even though I didn't want to, I wanted to be like, son, your mother is the embodiment of all that is fucking evil. I never did that. I was like, she's your mother. Your relationship with her is yours. Just because we have these problems does not mean it reflects to you. I said those words so many times, and so many times they literally felt like it was somebody else saying them. But it was the right thing to do because I knew in my heart I didn't want to be the person to fucking pollute that dynamic. And it sucked. All right? It sucked. It made me crazy. And I'm not going to lie. The internal dynamics came out in other fucked up ways. I became so isolated and I became so overdriven. And the people that know me from the early days of Broken Past know that I pushed it that first year of Broken Past to such a degree that I literally exploded on my front porch and almost stroked out. I didn't burn the candle from both ends. I literally took the candle and threw it into a pizza oven. And just to fucking, you know, occupy every moment of every time trying to do everything for everybody else. And I just literally, I blew myself apart.
The perfect analogy. If
completely.
You cannot pour from an empty cup, and self-care is mandatory.
I talked a really great talk. Again, high-functioning empaths. Great at helping other people, really fucking lousy at helping themselves. So I had to go through this whole catastrophic kind of deconstruction in the middle of trying to, you know, be a part of a band and working a career and all these dynamics. And I culminated with, you know, having a midlife crisis on top of it. And I literally just, I hit this point, and people who have danced in recovery circles know this term, where I was sick and tired of being fucking sick and tired. I had fucking enough. I had known better, but I was really kind of just engaging in that self-destructive behavior. Some people, you know, cut themselves. Some people do this. I was just literally trying to burn myself into the ground because I just could not contend with some of the dynamics of the human connection. Okay? I needed it. I wanted it. I just didn't know how to go about it because I didn't fucking trust anybody else. And the few attempts that I had made to, you know, kind of stick my feet in the water and shine, and I've joked about this, which is absolutely fucking catastrophic. So it's just easier, again, to be alone. But it was my son, again, ironically, in the end, who was like, yeah, old man, this isn't going to work. And, you know, again, I'm not going to go through the story, but me and the witch here, 2 years later, going strong.
Yeah, 2 years today.
Thank you, Shiya sister. I get it. Listen, most of us have experienced this. And as Dominique says, we get addicted to those connections.
Yes.
We need the fucking fix.
Look,
But guess what? No, listen, Gia, I totally get it. In the moment right now, yes, it absolutely feels much easier being alone because you're on the other end of the spectrum right now. And I've been there. Trust me when I say it's a fucking illusion, okay? Darkness, it's quite happy for you to just get comfortable in that dynamic. And then, as the song said, 10 years have passed you by. It really does. It fucking happens that quick. Don't get me wrong. We all have to go through our process of healing. Our process. I don't know. I keep
hitting this thing. That's what it is.
You're the unseemly witch who we can't.
Every time I lean back, it's hitting it, so I fixed it.
Just live show. Can't seem to make that connection.
I'm a hot mess. I am a hot mess.
Thank you. Yes.
I am your hot mess, but I'm a hot mess.
Yes, you are my hot mess. Absolutely. But, I'd say I don't really, this is just, here's the weird thing about it. We just kind of, created the date to just have all right, here's a moment of time that we can just say is where it started.
Technically, this is the 2-year anniversary of the first day I woke up in your bed.
Okay, she wants to frame it that way, so.
That's how I frame it.
Far be it from me to contradict.
It was like, when was our actual thing? This was the moment, this was the morning I woke up in his house, in his bed, which is now our house and our bed. But hey.
Yeah, listen, we all have trust issues and betrayal issues, brother. This is the reality of being human. But this is why the other dynamics are so sweet. This is why the good times stand out so more. Yeah, it's not fair. It doesn't make sense. It's a paradox, but it is still what it is.
Here's the thing, though, and you've pointed this out, and I've, we empaths, we get to the point of hey, yeah, what Gia's saying, it's so much easier being alone. But the thing is, empaths, we don't function too well in emotional isolation. So whether it be a romantic relationship or whether it be from a plethora of friends, there's a case to be made that says, that you get different feedback and different emotions from the different people in your life. Okay, so to have the right people and the right tribe surrounding you, or your pack,
listen,
so to speak.
I personally believe, and I don't want this to sound too off the beaten path because sometimes this type of dynamic gets misinterpreted, but it is kind of reflective of kind of like how the old hippie communes were, just without, the Roman style orgies, okay? Unless you're into that. I mean, listen, if you're into the Roman style orgies, you know what, that's fine, whatever. But all joking aside, the dynamic of strength in numbers. We're conditioned to think that relationships have to work a particular way, especially when it comes to sexual relationships. There's so much fucking, really ridiculous constructs and conditioning and double standards and just horrific traumas of misogyny. And, the list goes on, that it is completely convoluted what should be a natural and pure dynamic into this fucking seething ball of absolute fucking madness. And again, I try to live this way to the best of my ability. I know Shiya does, and I've tried to teach my son this, and I teach another element. You take what you need and you leave the rest behind. Not every relationship is meant to be this, that, or the other thing. And the hard part is just getting around the aspects of what other people think, because that's what empaths tend to do, is reflect what everybody else wants, what everybody else needs, what everybody else thinks. And when we really shine from the dynamic of being not just so much honest, but open in the dynamic of, what, it doesn't have to be this way, we actually become happier and we find strength in numbers. We create these new family dynamics. Listen, there are people in my life, people in this fucking chat on this podcast right now that are closer to me than anybody that's quote unquote blood or many other dynamics. I have people who I call my brother, even though we're not related. I call my sister, even though we are not related, that I feel closer to, that I trust more than people who carry my genetic code. Now, that's not
Soul
reflective of my
family.
son,
Right.
but this is really the purity of strength in numbers. We are all really related. So if you really want to get down to it, anybody you fuck, it's incest. So you can now throw the incest taboo out the fucking window. Does that mean you run out and fuck your father right now? No. But we shouldn't be hung up on those things. Heterosexuality versus bisexuality versus I want to identify as a beaver so people will lick my asshole. So fucking what? As long as you're not sticking your asshole in my face without permission, why should I care?
Exactly.
Why should you care? Unless it directly applies to you. Now, I get situations vary and, you have an analogy. Well, hey, I don't want them teaching that to my kid in 3rd grade class. Okay, I understand that. I get that. I'm a parent. So maybe we shouldn't talk about beaver asshole licking in 3rd grade. I'm okay with compromise. Okay, but if you want to tell a 12-year-old girl that wants to identify as a man that she can't, why? Who the fuck is it really hurting? What is it really changing? Especially if it's a framework of her identity. Now, that's not the same situation as a 38-year-old man who wants to identify as a woman so he can go hang out in the ladies' shower. No, fuck you. I'm going to take you out back and I'm going to kick you in the dick. That's how that's going to go down. Yep. Okay? And context matters.
A good point. She's way closer to me and to some of the others that are in the circle chat than some of her family people. It's called soul family. And when you find
that's one word for it,
people,
or 2 words, actually.
Yeah, 2 words.
Yeah.
But when you find the right people to support, then yes, those are your chosen dynamics of family, brother, sister, whether you're related or not. And we as empaths need to have those connections in our life, and we need to make sure that we're not sexualizing those connections. Doesn't mean that sex can't be somewhere in there, but it shouldn't be the basis of any relationship, in my opinion.
Now, I want to share, again, one of the stories that were submitted. And again, this is not reflective of anybody. And if it does create any dynamic, unfortunately, if anybody feeling triggered, I do apologize. There is a little bit of heaviness in this, but I believe that these are important, and I do appreciate and respect the strength and the courage it takes to share these kind of things. So again, with that dynamic in mind, I want to read one before the monkey shows up and we swing into the D&D stuff.
And we need to announce our winner for...
Yes, by the way, Dominique won the free writing with the lady Shiya. So Dominique,
yes.
Hey, gal, you won.
Congratulations.
Yes.
Contest for
with the lamb sauce.
Yes, for winning a free private reading for submitting something that was used on the podcast. Is Dominique Wong. So, yay. Congratulations. So, make sure you go over to LadyShiya.com or Lady Shiya on my Facebook page and click the book now. Select a time, and we will have a private reading for you. If you want to have a chance to win this next month, make sure that you submit. Join the Wolf Pack. Look on the screen right now. You'll see Wolf at oldwolfmusic.com. Send your submissions.
Hello, that's me.
Anything that gets used on the podcast
gets
entered into the hat for
And again, context. This is not about better or worse. This is just a simple, everybody that we use gets put into the hat, and this time the universe says Dominique gets a private reading. So that's how it works.
Congratulations.
I want to say something real quick because my brother Derek put out a couple things. Great to see you, my friend. And really some good words here. So I want to share them for anybody who obviously can't see them. Derek says social acceptability is just pressure on everyone of people who don't matter. So why let them determine your choices and likes? He goes on to say, okay, the biggest thing is really eliminating the social acceptability of sex and body image and developing your own personality with it. Then finding one accepting people of your personality. And it's a great statement.
It's a great analogy.
It really is. And it is. Blood is thicker than water, which is actually, blood is the covenant, is thicker than the water of the womb. You make your family not born into it. And that's a great analogy because a lot of people don't know that old dynamic. It actually refers to the fact that the people who are blood related to you are not actually
they're your closest.
The people who are going to stand with you. It's actually from the old Knight's Code, and it is a dynamic, and you see it in the Marine Corps, and you see it in all other analogies. The samurai had a variation on it. The Muslims had a variation on it, but it is the context of the bonding with those who share a common dynamic, be it purpose, be it an idea, a philosophy, a goal, a quest. You know what I mean? Maybe you gotta take the one ring and you gotta get it into the fucking mountain before, darkness spreads across the land. But they all reflect that dynamic. And it is beautifully said. So with that, I'm gonna read this one, and again, give everybody it's a heads up. This one's got a little bit of heavy content. So first, person would like to remain anonymous. And they really wanted to create a context to give people some understanding. And some of this I will try to keep literally word for word. By now, a lot of people know an abuse acronym, PTSD. You don't get it from being scared by a spider or yelled at by a bigger person one time. You get it through actual abuse or trauma, such as being hit, kicked, thrown down, punched, and repeatedly raped by your father, like I was. You get it by having all your CDs, posters, makeup, etc. broken in front of your face by your father, like I was. You get it by having your life threatened, then almost taken. Then your family and friends' lives threatened if you tell anyone or run away again. You get it by seeing your father abuse animals and your baby sister and stepmother. You get it by almost dying and coming back as a child, like I was. You get it by repeatedly seeing your mom drugged up, getting fucked, and then abused in front of you as a kid, like I did. You get it by having to say goodbye to your baby, like I did. You get it by seeing the devil, evil, negative entities change the eyes and soul of a person, like I did. You get it after your sibling commits suicide. The guilt and what if is so much more intense than someone who passes naturally. I've kissed the cheek of a dead person, and that doesn't compare to a suicide of a sibling I didn't even witness. It's worse, and it hurts everyone. I know this, and yet I fantasize about suicide every day. I have attempted it since I was a teenager. Even after I had a family, the darkness remains. No one and nothing makes me happy when I'm remembering, which is often. I've been to so many damn therapists, been taken in on a 5150, tried countless different medications, countless jobs, and nothing works. Nothing helps me be happy. So I smoke and drink like most people with PTSD do. When I'm out of my vices, I'm a damn mess. When I can't provide the way I want to, I'm a damn mess. Almost everyone who has PTSD goes through this. The daily, why the fuck am I still here, haunts me even in my dreams. The only breaks are when I'm close to death. What I saw on the other side was beautiful. You can call it God, Allah, the Creator, the gods, the Mother, Buddha, or whatever. It's all the same thing, and it does exist. It has no gender and no anger that I could see, sense, or feel. They call it up there because you float up when you leave your body. Your ancestors are waiting and help you get there. It's so much better than here. My GPA died and came back too. He also had a hard life. He went through this as well. He wasn't an alcoholic, but he did drink like I do. He loved his cigarettes too. I miss him. I can't wait to see him again. So to everyone out there going through this or something similar, I get it. It makes it worse to talk about it, except when you're in the dark place. So scheduled therapy sessions don't help. It's not a brain disorder. Oh, I lost my track.
It's not a brain disorder, it's trauma. Third line down. There you go.
It's not a brain disorder, it's trauma, so psych pills don't help. Natural remedies help, but who can afford it? And anyway, nothing fixes it and nothing will. We just live with it, we learn how to deal, or we don't.
Can I address a couple of things on that?
Yeah, listen, the only thing and the first thing that I have to say is, again, complete and utter respect for having the courage
Yes.
to vocalize that. I have to be the proverbial broken record and say, hey, please fucking don't give up. I understand there are no fucking magic fucking potions. There are no fucking sparkly words. But I can honestly say that the fact that you've obviously been able to make it from point A to point B to share this is representative of your strength. And maybe you just need to hear that. I made the analogy earlier. We can say it. 999 people can say the same fucking thing 999 times. Sometimes it's the 1000th person. And it's just the time, the place, the cadence, whatever the fuck it is. But sometimes maybe the light will shine in. The world is better off with you than without you. So, yeah, Witch, go ahead. You jump in.
The first thing I'm going to say is there's a lot of heavy beliefs about suicide out there. And I will encourage anybody not to do it, simply because sometimes if we cut ourselves off before we've learned the lessons that we need to learn in our lifetime, we might just have to come back and repeat those same damn lessons. Might as well just get them over with now so you only have to go through the shit once. Okay? But I will also say that while PTSD, I know there are always elements of PTSD. I have some elements of my own PTSD. And there were some parts of that story that I could seriously relate to and be like, yeah, that sounds awfully familiar. And I understood some of that. And I myself have attempted to commit suicide twice, seriously, in earnest. Thankfully, was unable to succeed both times. But the thing is that it does get better with the right supports. There are strength in numbers. And working through shadow work maybe it's not going to... And there's a different way for coping with it for each person. Maybe scheduled therapy sessions don't work for some people. Maybe it works for others. The point is that you don't quit and you keep trying until you find what works. Maybe it's humor. Maybe it's friends.
In my experience, the reason therapy does not work is simply because there is no connection between the people involved. Mm-hmm. It's not that therapy is wrong, but therapy really is so contingent upon the person really controlling the dynamic, aka if you're not truly an empath, if you're not truly committed and connected to the dynamics and have the ability not only to understand a person, but really look at it from their perspective, mm-hmm. There's no way that person is going to trust. And by its very nature, you're not going to make any real progress. And what happens more times than not is exactly what she said. It doesn't fucking work. They don't feel connected. They feel it's a waste of time. They go through it a couple times because the court ordered it or because of this, that, or the other thing. And they get some, fucking pencil pusher who just, got a liberal arts fucking degree and his grandmother got him this job because he didn't want to work at fucking McDonald's anymore.
Or all the people that become therapists because they themselves need therapy.
Or, listen, there is a case to be made, and I've seen this a few times. Some people enjoy other people's pain.
Yeah.
If you're the type of person that feeds off of other people's pain and suffering and stuff like that, there's no better industry than therapy, okay? And I have encountered that, and I've seen people come off the other end of it. The dynamics, some of it are universal, okay? Sexuality, unfortunately, especially in the darker elements, doesn't matter who the person is. If somebody desires a dynamic, and it doesn't matter if it's a father fucking a daughter, or a brother fucking a sister, or any number of analogies, it isn't about you. Unfortunately, you just happen to be the convenient dynamic in the moment for them to act out upon their shit. And that's the shitty paradox of it. This is the hardest thing for people who have experienced traumas and dealing with elements, whatever form of PTSD, or again, whatever word you want to put on it, is separating the dynamic of the personal, the emotional compromised element, because this is what's been done to me, to the dynamic that it isn't really about that, unfortunately. It doesn't change what has happened. It doesn't change how it makes you feel, but it is part of the first steps in being able to really, again, in my humble opinion, be able to move past it, is separating the dynamic. And, you know, again, it's not going to make sense. It's not supposed to make sense. I talk about this all the time. We can't, as empathic creatures, understand the chaos. I call it dancing in the mouth of madness. It's not going to make sense to you because it's not based in reality. So you can't try and figure it out. Okay, there can be 1,001 different reasons. Okay, so the best we can do is deal with our part in it to get ourselves out of the damage zone, the blast zone, if you will. Derek says, and a lot in medicine, there isn't a cure, so to speak, but there is a lot of aid to help symptoms and to try and make life better and less filled with fear and trauma. It's just down to finding the better people to talk to, someone you can trust. Mm-hmm. But, and he's right, the longer it's bottled up, the stronger those demons get. And I know Derek has struggled, and someone who has
complex PTSD,
you know, and has dealt with some issues. You know what I mean? You know, yeah, I know, brother Derek's definitely he's got a full dance card. You know, 14 years of being a medic, T-boned by a bus, domestic abuse from the ex-wife. Yeah, no, listen, brother. You are definitely somebody who has danced with the demons, but listen, that's also what makes this so important.
You told your story too.
Yeah, I would love to have you come out here if you're open to it and have that conversation, because it is important, and especially I think it's important for men. Men are conditioned not to talk about these types of things. We're told emotions make you weak. You know what I mean? Real men don't cry.
Now,
you know what I mean?
I'm going to interrupt for 1 second and say I'm going to bow out to the other room because we have a special guest
yes,
joining
the
us.
monkey. Yes, come on in, monkey. Join the fray. We are definitely going to segue that. Listen, again, strength in numbers. You know, our experiences, our strength, our hope, many times is the lifeline for other people to say, okay, you know what? If just in the moment sometimes of being able to shift the dynamic. Again, yeah, listen, it took me many years as well, too. This is not a, you know, light switch. Hey, you know what I mean? Doesn't work that way. But every step does make it easier. And, you know, again, not to be redundant, part of the dynamic, the analogy with strength in numbers is that we shouldn't and we don't have to carry the shit alone, especially when it's really fucked up shit. Okay? That's what makes it so fucking horrible. More times than not is having to struggle with this stuff by ourselves, which, again, by our very nature, ego says nobody cares, nobody understands, but we do. We not only do we care, but we do understand. So yes, thank you for everybody that shares. There are going to be more of these. We're going to keep them going for the near foreseeable future. So we're going to now jump into the segue. I've got, for those of you who don't know, my son, the Indigo Monkey, who I taught many years ago about a game that I enjoyed as a kid, and I thought it would be a good one. And it's called D&D. And for those of you maybe who've heard little bits and pieces of things or seen something on social media, there's been a huge blow up in the D&D world, and it's called the D&D OGL controversy, which, as you can see, controversy, whoever made this fucking meme didn't know how to spell. I thought that was fucking hysterical in its baseline, but they couldn't even spell controversy.
Yeah, I mean, they got so close.
They got so close, but
and then
they rolled a 1.
And then they tripped at the finish line.
Right. They obviously failed on their intellect roll. Yes, Shiya, thank you. I absolutely agree. Sometimes the thought of allowing someone to help is absolutely terrifying. I will humbly submit, sister. However, being alone, I have found, is even more terrifying. So what is the lesser of the two evils? Welcome to the Kobayashi Maru, boys and girls. Step right up.
I don't believe in no.
Yes, and thank you. My kid beat me to it. We don't believe in no-win scenarios. Okay, we just don't. You know, half of this is about the context of what we choose to embrace, what we choose to believe. So anyway, Monkey, why don't you tell everybody about the controversy?
Yeah, the controversy.
Uh-oh, yeah. All right, so the witch's got to adjust the dynamics because obviously Monkey doesn't project as well for her to hear.
Yes.
Okay, hold on, wait. Take one.
Yeah.
Monkey.
Hi. Yeah, so the whole controversy recently has been that D&D has been getting continuously more popular as the years go on. We saw a bit of an emergence with like Stranger Things. We've seen some of the podcasts gaining more popularity, like Critical Role, Matthew Mercer and his group,
The Witcher.
although that's more fantasy, less D&D.
But it's still based from that baseline dynamic of fantasy role play, wizards and monsters and
True, very
all that
true.
shit.
But specifically tabletop RPGs right now is kind of what I'm getting at. And with them becoming more popular, some of these people that are doing things like podcasts are earning more money. And Wizards of the Coast decided they wanted to get greedy. And for everybody that doesn't know, Wizards of the Coast are the people that made D&D. However, they're now owned by Hasbro.
But here's the interesting dynamic. Those of us who are original nerds, like myself, know that D&D actually was born of J.R. Tolkien's lore. It was literally taking the narratives of his writings and creating an immersive world for people to role play.
Yeah.
And that the game was literally born of,
yeah,
you know,
Wizards of the Coast
of the kids who grew up and were exposed to those dynamics of Tolkien's literature.
Yeah, they went as far as to name some of the races, abilities, and classes right out of Tolkien's lore, and the Tolkien estate had issue with it.
And the Tolkien estate
They're like, no, you're making money? You can't use these names, these things, these places. You can't make money off this. They said, okay, we'll stop. And that's why you don't have hobbits, you have halflings. That's exactly it, right there. That's one of the biggest problems they had.
to die. But wizard is a generic term, so anybody can be a fucking wizard.
Right. So you had, a couple of vanilla staple terms that you can't really steal. You can't really trademark, like wizard.
You can't trademark magic.
Paladin, fighter, barbarian. Yeah, it just, you can't trademark fireball, bro. It doesn't happen.
Brother Jonathan says, gee, it's not like Hasbro has ever fucked up anything they purchased before. Yes, welcome to capitalism, boys and girls.
You see, yeah, and that's exactly the idea. And yeah, Shiya, you raised a good point. They didn't really invent it as far as I know, but they did formalize it. The original Dungeons and Dragons was something like soldiers and like castles and soldiers and forts, something really simple. And it was actually a strategy game based on real world tactics. They had groups of soldiers, horsemen, archers, and it was essentially taking like modern day field tactics and applying Dungeons and Dragons logic to it.
It was the first form, really, of theoretical string models within tactical combat.
And instead of running theoretical probability, they instead tried to use multiple instances of experimental probability. And this first step is like the difference between thought and practice entirely.
And using a random generated number system, aka the dice, letting things play out within the random spectrum of what could theoretically happen. Aka, you could run onto the battlefield with your bow and arrow, and you could pull it back perfectly, aim your shot, boom, nail that motherfucker right between dead in the eyes.
Right.
Or you could pull that fucking bow back, fuck up, get distracted by a butterfly flying in front of your face, and shoot your own testicles off.
Right. And then the addendum eventually to that game, they added things like dragons and demons and angels, and it got very occultish to some degrees, and people shied very away from it because anything occult was taboo.
See, this is not the first controversy that D&D has encountered, so I'm going to share a little bit of the past with you. Those of you who were around in the day will remember the dynamics. Dungeons and Dragons causes moral conflict, protest. Yes, evangelicals lost their fucking mind because D&D started to explore the dynamics that, well, if you have good guys,
There needs to be
wizards
bad guys.
and paladins and priests and, yes, swordsmen for the noble name of the kingdom, well, who the fuck are they going to fight? So, by its very own default, what they really did is just took a chapter from the Catholic Church and said, let's just create a compendium of assorted demons and bad guys. And from there, they started adding different lores. If you look at
actually,
D&D deities and demigods,
it was like lesser demons and like a greater demon. You had the undead with like liches, and then you had the angels and the archangels and the priests, and they made sure to lay this really big emphasis on clerics and paladins and them and the divine power being able to combat these evil forces through their divine power. And it was their way of saying, no, it kind of is, but really we're not promoting it, but instead we're promoting, like, the opposite. We're trying to say good, these are bad things. And nobody wanted to listen.
Right. So not unlike theater, D&D became an expansion of acting, if you will. Role-playing is just simply a different variation on playing a character. And you're engaging it with different variables of how the scripts are more organic, and they play out based on how everybody interacts. But over the years, the D&D universe has expanded based on the players who really create, as I call it, the magic, the story. So the characters now involve everything from Norse mythology to Greek mythology to fucking Cthulhu and demons and science fiction and fucking Transformers and Star Wars and Shadowrun and fucking crazy little horny hobbits running around trying to fuck dragons. So yeah, the whole dynamic, again, the core of this has always been that it was outside the box. And during the 80s, people started losing their minds. Now, these are all newspaper articles from the 80s. And groups say fantasy game responsible for teen suicide. See, people didn't want to look at the dynamic of what maybe was actually wrong with the kid. And even in the article it says, well, the people around him said that he was going through these issues and they weren't really sure what he was going through. But yeah, let's blame a fucking game, okay? So this has been the dynamic since the beginning.
See, the thing about Dungeons and Dragons is that it's about, to some degrees, escapism. So yeah, sometimes a lot of troubled individuals flock towards it because that level of escapism is better than things like self-harm or drinking themselves to death or drugs. Like, for good God, like it's astounding to me how people can assume that things like Dungeons and Dragons is worse than all the previously mentioned things.
Yeah, and again, using, some of the earlier analogies, you had a story from somebody who talked about how, their father basically fucked them and their sister on a regular basis. But, that's been acceptable within our cultures and technology. Some have even made it a framework into their religion, believe it or not. But yes, a role-playing game that, is based off of imagination somehow is responsible for a child's despair. It's insanity, but not unlike the witches of Salem and many other examples in our culture, the things that people don't understand tend to be met with all kinds of interesting and fucked up responses. Now, the meme that I have up here, and we pulled a couple of these out since the theme is Dungeons and Disasters, most D&D groups begin kind of like the Lord of the Rings. You have all these noble characters. You've got heroes and dwarves and elves and all this noble shit. How most D&D groups end is basically like fucking Monty Python and the Holy Grail, with people basically shitting themselves and running away in fear. Run away! Run away! Run away! But it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. And the witch says, yes, some religious nuts have justified this crap by simply hiding the dysfunction. So they pick something like D&D to have an evil to point the finger at, so you won't look in their closet. Yeah, no, that's very well said. And I'd be terrified to look in some of those fucking closets. I'd much rather go on an adventure to some fucked up reality. And again, full disclosure, we've been playing D&D for years. I played as a kid. I taught my son how to play, and we play literally every week. It's our family gaming time where we go into these worlds. The monkey DMs, I have DM, Shiya's even DM. We all take turns telling different stories, creating characters, and going on these adventures. But it's been a player-generated community. There's a community solely created by the players, and it has existed. And the only reason that there's money in it is because people play it. So the fan base is the core dynamic in it.
Right.
So what ended up happening is that Wizards of the Coast and Hasbro basically decides that, guess what? You all don't get to do what you want to do anymore, even though we originally said that, hey, you guys could do it, but we want more fucking money.
So we're changing the OGL.
So we're going to change the rules now. And the community said, oh, really?
No,
hold
fuck you.
my beer.
Yeah, no, fuck you.
Within weeks, okay, the D&D community literally gutted original gaming license.
Open game license.
Or open game license, yes. The D&D basically community shut Wizards and Hasbro down. Basically said, we're not going to buy your shit. They all started canceling their memberships to,
D&D Beyond.
D&D Beyond. They started boycotting the fucking movie. And they basically, without any real true organization or funding, just through social media, spread the word, came together, strengthened numbers, and basically told a multi-billion-dollar corporation to stick it in their ass. And they tried to play chicken, and the stockholders just kept watching the numbers drop day by fucking day by day until finally they came out and were like, oh no, we really didn't mean that. We were just joking. No, that person who said that, no, he didn't really mean it. We're sorry. Please, please buy our shit.
Yeah, it got to the point where they like Shiya is saying, they shut down the server that was access to their subscription network for D&D Beyond so that nobody else could actually cancel and take their subscription away. They're like, holy crap, stop the bleeding. Please, the money is disappearing. Please stop making the money disappear. And that's the only thing they cared about, so we showed them. Yeah, if that's the only thing we'll care about, that's the thing we'll fuck with.
And part of it is because D&D is now going mainstream, okay? Don't kid yourself. A lot of the new animes, a lot of the new animated stuff that's going on has a direct tie-in to the D&D world, a.k.a. Critical Role, Vox Machina, which is right now one of the highest rated shows on Amazon. And it basically started from a bunch of people at a fucking podcast playing D&D.
Exactly what it is.
Scanlan!
You can actually, if you want, you can still go look it up on like Spotify. They're still doing it.
Yeah, they're still doing the podcast.
And for what it's worth, the show differs from the podcast ever so slightly. They're changing things as they go. And it's purposeful. They're doing it, to keep things fresh.
This is the power of imagination. This is the power of strength in numbers. As much as they want to put us all in a fucking box, all we have to do is hit at their fucking dollars, and there's not a fucking thing they can do. So these communities have existed for many years. They've grown organically.
And we're now getting to the point where playing D&D, like for people,
it's actually cool now. We're not nerds anymore. I'm kind of broken. I like being a fucking nerd.
I do too,
listen. I want to have like nerd credentials. Like, you don't get to play the game unless you fucking pass your nerd credentials. That's just me.
You need to be certified.
You need to be a certified nerd. And Brother Derek's right. Look at the sets of the games like Elder Scrolls and so many others that are based off Baldur's Gate, Diablo, You know what I mean? All your fucking
High fantasy.
your conventions, your cosplay, all these things tie, again, directly or indirectly to the whole role-playing community. And it doesn't matter, again, if it's Dungeons and Dragons, Star Trek, Star Wars, Transformers, fucking Hello Kitty, Boo Boo Kitty Bop, whatever the fuck. It's all based in the magic of imagination. So, one of the things, and I always like to throw these out here, to give you a little bit of a background. Bards, okay? Bards basically are the source of every half-breed, crossbreed template in D&D, because the running joke is bards will fuck anything.
They are the living incarnation of horniness.
Yes. So the picture we have here is basically a boulder with a heart sign. The bard, honestly, I have no idea how this happened. You can see the little baby rock. The wizard's basically, that does it. I'm neutering him right now. And then the female elven jilted character is like, fuck you, bard. Really? You had to stick your dick in it, didn't you? So yeah, there are some adult dynamics. Vox Machina is not exactly for young children.
No, it's not.
It really isn't.
Scanlan.
But young children can. There are modules designed for younger children that does not approach the heavier, like Vampire the Masquerade. You know, some of the heavier, darker, more adult elements. And I understand that as a parent.
No, my buddy has done an amazing job actually adapting D&D for some of his for his stepdaughter and some of her friends, and he has done things akin to like a Disney run where he brings in like little Disney characters and and
absolutely. You know, we've done homebrew type of things.
Oh yeah,
any number. I mean, of course, Jonathan's like, I think I'm gonna play a bard because you want to get some of that dragon. Just remember, make sure that she's a girl dragon. Okay, do your lore right. Watch Shrek. Okay.
See, that's just the problem. If I'm ever DMing, it's never a girl dragon. So don't try and seduce it.
Right. If you ever play with the monkey, yeah, he is the storyteller, but he has a lot of Lovecraft in him. I'm just gonna say it that way. If you meet an elder god, it's okay to shit yourself and run. It really is. So here's another little meme for the Wizards of the Coast community. It's just one of those goofy little memes. You got Wizards of the Coast. The arms are all out. Hey! Locking down intellectual property by retroactively changing the OGL. And then, as you can see, as greedy Wizards of the Coast is reaching out, trying to take a bigger bite out of the gaming community, of course, the bigger, fatter Tolkien estate is like, oh, come here, baby.
Oh, no.
You didn't think it was going to be that easy now, did you? Still, yeah. As Merlin would say, there's always a bigger fish waiting. So go ahead, see how that works out for you. Now, some of these, when you talk about the homebrew dynamics, people automatically imagine, okay, it's going to be some big undead skeletal dragon breathing noxious fumes, attacking us from alternate dimensions.
Or some horrible eldritch abomination nightmare.
And then there's my son, who is the DM in this particular analogy, laughing in the corner, who will throw a ginormous squirrel with a 27 strength and legendary actions that will basically grab you and chew your testicles off. Okay? So listen, horror is only limited by the imagination.
I mean, you think that meme is funny. I actually have a proper stat block for an Arbit squirrel.
Yeah, so it was just, mother. And then we go on to...
I mean, that's what you think picking on the forest critters is going to be fun until the fucking druid wild shifts.
I have empathy for evil characters. I like playing evil characters. I play evil really well. I think they get a bad rap, a bad name sometimes. And this meme is simply just a dragon casually chilling with a nice cup of tea. Did I kidnap the princess?
I definitely did.
I'm trying to dismantle the monarchy. Want to join? Okay, so not every fairy tale, we're like, oh, the big bad dragon stole the princess. Well, maybe the dragon was fighting for the oppressed, poor, slave-ridden caste society that the princess and her family for generations had just milked and taken advantage of. And she really was the epitome of everything that was wrong.
Or maybe the dragon was hired.
Was the true evil. All right, maybe the dragon is just a
maybe
mercenary.
maybe the princess hired the dragon because she had an arranged
she's got
marriage.
Kids to feed, you know what I mean? There's no social services for dragons.
I mean,
what's
Jesus,
he gonna do?
The arranged marriage shit back in the day was horrible.
Right.
Maybe she had one that she just didn't want to go through with.
Listen, maybe this was all a play. Maybe she hired the dragon because she looked at this guy as like, there's no way I'm fucking this guy. I don't care what my father says. I'd rather fuck a dragon. Hey, Mr. Dragon. Mr. Dragon's just, hey, I'm just minding my own business, drinking my tea. This princess comes up talking about all these traumas and abuses. What was an honorable dragon supposed to do?
My God, she actually held a proper conversation. Do you know how long it's been? Everyone just screams when they see me.
Hey, brother, if you got a good evil campaign, run it past me and the monkey here anytime. Always willing to help.
Oh, I got a fun evil campaign that's about a necromancer that brings you back from the dead and forces you to do what he wants.
Ha Well, that got weird really fast.
I don't care what kind of character you want to run, but you come back as an undead.
Well, listen, the framework, again, a lot of this, and this is just, again, public service message. Only you can prevent dungeon fires. Remember, kill the wizard first. Okay, and I say that again. Kill the wizard first.
Wait a second, aren't you a wizard?
Yes, I'm a wizard. Now, this is just one, again, just to give you a framework. Again, this is one of the monkeys memes. And it's just 3 different pictures. You've got the casual Americans when their AC is set to 70. She's just chilling. Europeans when their AC is set to 70. And this is supposed to be the joke between Fahrenheit and Celsius for those of you who don't get the context. And you can see this particular clip picture is somebody obviously burning in a pool of lava. The third is D&D players when their AC is set to 70. And the caption's basically a couple of guys with big guns saying, ha ha ha, I am bulletproof. For those of you who don't know, AC in D&D means, monkey, please tell them, survey says.
Armor class.
And what's armor class?
It's the pretty much your armor rating. It's the number the enemy has to roll above to hit you.
Okay. So for basic analogy here, most dragons, with their dragon hide and all that shit and their ability to fly,
Like a 30,
will cap out somewhere between a 30 and a 40 armor class. So if you're running around with a 70 armor class, you're basically Batman just in God mode. Nothing's going to hit you. Nobody's going to touch you.
Yeah, you're like Superman.
Well, a little bit beyond. But yes, that is how 2 letters can have such complete different meaning. Just depending upon where you are in the world. Think upon that. Now again, one of the final ones that we'll click to here. Multi-classing. Most important thing, boys and girls. Because wizards run out of spells. And my monkey here is the king of multi-classing. Okay, and let me tell you, I would not have a problem if all of a sudden Gandalf just cracked out a 50 caliber and just decided, hey, I gotta snipe me some fucking Urukai from 300 yards away.
I mean, I don't think that would fit, but goddamn, that'd be hysterical.
Yes. Well, listen, I mean, again, this is the beautiful thing about roleplay is our magic, our imagination can allow us to create any number of scenarios and this is the beauty of storytelling and whatever the framework. If it's a song, if it's a D&D adventure, if it's a painting, if it's a poem, they all reflect different dynamics. And usually, the core dynamic within these adventures is adventure, fun. Hey, let's run out and go fuck a dragon. Where else?
Why do you keep going
Where
back
else
to
in
dragon
life
fucking?
can you get a bunch of
Why
people
do you
together?
keep going back to dragon fucking? Why?
Listen, this is pure capitalistic marketing 101. If people think they can go fuck a dragon, they may want to go check out D&D. They may be
You
like,
do
hey.
realize that is what drives most people away, is when you get that weird.
Well, now you have uncovered my nefarious plot. I don't really want anybody playing D&D besides certified nerds. So if you can't get past the dragon fucking barrier, then you shouldn't be playing the fucking game. Ha ha.
You want to re-roll a character, don't you?
Yeah. Well, Brother Jonathan's like a phoenix or a mermaid. But see, this is what would happen, brother. It would be the most beautiful fairy nymph you've ever imagined. And as you pulled your wang out to stick it in there, you would find out that's not really a beautiful fucking fairy. It's a mimic. Okay? And if you've never encountered a mimic, let's just say they're not friendly. So that's, yes, there is your Dungeons and Disasters.
You definitely want to re-roll a character.
Yes. But listen, again, in all seriousness, this is really the power of the community. The community came together and said, no, you're not going to do this. You're not going to change what has been the accepted and publicly stated policy that you have people within communities for years, some of them generations now, such as myself and my family now, 2 generations of dynamics have been built, and you just think you're going to come in and be like, well, sorry. No. Okay, here is the lesson.
I mean, the big problem, because it didn't, let's be honest, it didn't affect people like me and you. It didn't. What they were doing...
because we don't make money off of it.
Right. What they were doing is they were going after the people that were starting to make money off of it, and they were starting to make it popular. The idea of the OGL change was that it was going to attack their revenue, not their profit, not, their baseline, anything, not their revenue. So a lot of these people were going to go into the red harshly, because it wasn't just hitting revenue a little bit. It was a massive, greedy number.
Oh, yeah. And it really is ridiculous, because all of this fan-generated dynamic has been based off of a pure organic element. Okay, these aren't people that have sponsorships from Coca-Cola or, funding from a super PAC or any of this types of things. They're done in basements. They're done within the framework of very humble, organic elements. And yes, some of them have been able to take it into, like Critical Role did, into a hit television series. But this is part of the dynamic that the fans keep the magic alive. And just because, certain things, and I get it, we have proprietary copyright, blah, 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 da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Okay, but, magic, you can't copyright that. You can't take the concept of wizards and say, hey, that's mine. You're going to pay me a licensing fee to talk about wizards. Fuck you, okay?
There's actually very little things that you cannot talk about that Wizards of the Coast made themselves and have trademarked. And they are very specifically a couple of monsters. I have a list so that I never actually use them.
Yeah. Oh, yes, don't use these.
And it'd be mumbo-jumbo trying to read the list off here, but the only one that I can really think of is a Beholder, that people might know.
Right. Yeah, the thing with the big eye that runs around with the tentacles type of thing.
Right.
But listen, Marvel has its own version. They call it something else. You just, again,
right.
These lores have existed. It's like, again, dragons have been around before anybody fucking,
right.
decided that, somebody wanted to fuck one. And
I mean, everything ends up as, public domain eventually anyway. Jesus Christ, look at the Winnie the Pooh movie that just came out.
Oh my God.
You want to talk about public domain going sideways?
But here it is. Context is also important. It's the spirit of a dynamic. So, in that spirit, one of the things that I have started to do is share different movie preview, trailer types of things and other dynamics that are out there.
Oh, God, the new Velma.
You don't even get a start.
Actually, no. I got one thing to say on that.
Here we go.
And that is officially the worst rated animation of the 21st fucking century.
Hey, Velma.
Congratulations.
New award for you, girl. You go.
Congratulations. You just rewrote Rock Bottom.
Thank you for ruining, 3 generations of children's memories. Yeah, now, Scooby-Doo,
more
3
than
generations, probably more. You fucked up, SA. You fucked up hard. So with that, I'd like to share another dynamic of what the power, the strength in numbers dynamic of these underground communities, these fan-based services. And again, not D&D, but it does reflect some of the same elements. Within our culture, elements of science fiction, fantasy, and stuff like that have become, they're pillars within our cultures, within our dynamics. And one of them that has been around for a few now is Star Trek. And for many years, the Star Trek community was kept alive when nobody was producing or trying to sell something by the fans, be it through conventions, be it through artwork, be it through stories. But as technology opened up, it became fan-based productions, actual Star Trek episodes, if you will. Granted, William Shatner was not in them, Leonard Nimoy was not in them, but they were designed to carry the magic. Gene Roddenberry's original idea that this was about the people. Star Trek was always about the fans, always about the people, creating a dialogue about there being a better future, a future where we existed more in harmony. We still had our struggles, we still had our fuck-ups, but we weren't basing things as much on things like race. Star Trek was one of the first TV series to introduce characters of color. It had the first interracial kiss that had ever been shown on television before. So they broke new ground in dynamics of the 60s that had never been done before, and it created a fan base.
Not to mention that George Takei is something else.
Oh, George Takei fucking rules. But that's beside the point. But those of you who know anything about the Star Trek universe, there was a blow-up not that long ago, a couple of years ago, within the fan-based community, not unlike D&D, and Paramount basically saying, fuck you, you can't do this anymore because we're fucking greedy. And even though nobody was making any money on these things, they were still like, no, fuck you, pay me. Well, the community said, you know what, fuck you, we're going to crowdsource our own thing, and we're going to take you to court. Granted, it didn't work out the best way that the fans wanted, but Paramount was forced to give and basically say, we will allow you to create these fan-based productions as long as they are less than X amount of time. In other words, they can't really be more than 15 minutes or so. They can't be full-based movie type of dynamics. They have to stay within the intellectual rights, and they obviously can't be designed for profit. So that's what the fan community does, and this is a project that's called Axanar, and it basically addresses a period of Star Trek's history before the original series and how the Federation struggled to be the Federation. And when I tell you that this work is better than a lot of the packaged shit that Paramount has sold, I'll let you be the judge of it, but this is what the power of a community of just people from all across the world coming together to tell a story, to share a concept and an idea. So it's a little bit, about 11.5-minute adventure. And keep in mind, this was all crowdsourced, publicly done by the community and released out there for the community to enjoy. So enjoy it now, and then we'll come back and we'll talk a little bit more before we close it out.
Stardate 2245.1. The D7 enters the war.
Helm, hold her steady. We need some distance between us and those battle cruisers.
I'm trying, sir. Those monsters are fast.
Damage report.
Shields holding at 60%, aft torpedoes disabled, impulse engines damaged but still operative. We have warp power, but not for long.
Bridge, this is engineering. God, what the hell are you doing to my ship?
Alexei, divert all non-essential power to the aft shields. Keep those warp engines intact. Mr. Tanaka's on his way down to assist.
Do the impossible. Duh, same as always. Engineering out.
And it's not your ship.
Laser control, do you copy?
Com, get me the Artemis.
Red line, ventral conduit.
Captain, the Ares is hailing us, sir.
Captain Jakande on main viewer, sir.
Guess Karn finally got his D7s launched. But you look at the size of those things.
Status on the Artemis, Captain.
Shields are at 72%. Warp and impulse engines intact. Minor casualties. So far, just our luck the first D7 attack would happen here.
I don't believe in coincidence, Captain.
Do you know what you're saying, Garth?
It's the only explanation. We have a spy. Jakande, Kane, status on comms.
Communications relay overload, Captain. I'm rerouting now. Just give me a minute.
Franklin, damage report.
Hull breach on deck 6, emergency bulkheads in place. Phaser banks 3 and 4 damaged, auxiliary control circuits temporarily disabled. Casualties.
Go ahead, Doctor.
Captain, I have Ramirez in sickbay. He's been hit. He's in critical condition. I need to operate, but I can't while the ship is being blasted apart.
Understood.
The ship gets blasted apart. It's not going to matter. Kane, I need comms now.
Thanks for calling me back. I thought you'd hung up on me.
Ramirez is in sickbay. He's critical.
Get out of here, Garth. Now. We'll handle this.
Jump to war with us. With any luck, we can both make it back to the fleet.
No. Those D7s are faster than us. Starfleet can afford to lose both our ships plus Ramirez. We'll handle the battle cruisers. Helm, come about.
Jakande, no. We'll beam Ramirez to you. We can lower our ventral shield just long enough to get...
Captain, we've just taken heavy damage to the ventral power conduits. It's knocked out the transporters.
Damn it. Jakande, can you beam Ramirez?
Our transporters are out too. Garth, this is the only way. You've got to get Ramirez out of here now. Engineering, slow to 1/4 impulse, start venting warp plasma. We've got to make it seem like we've been crippled.
Yes, Captain.
And Commander, be prepared to shut down antimatter containment. On my mark.
But Captain, that'll destroy the ship.
I know. I know.
Aye, sir.
Jakande.
It's been an honor serving with you, Captain Garth. Now get the hell out of here.
The honor is ours, Artemis.
Helm, hard about.
Helm, War Factor 7. Now.
Engineering, shut down antimatter containment unit. Now.
Antimatter explosion, sir. Artemis is gone. The Klingon ships are no longer pursuing us.
Mr. DeVille, get us back to Earth. Best speed.
That ambush cost us dearly. Captain Jakande, we were brothers in war. But thanks to the Artemis, we made it back safely to Starbase 1. Admiral Ramirez survived, but he spent the rest of the war in a hospital bed. In some ways, his decision was the easy decision. Because when you're in the middle of a battle like that, you're not running through your head the calculations of the hundreds of people that are going to die or the thousands of people back home who that affects. His sacrifice was so pure because all he was thinking about was the mission. It was the Federation. It was winning. He knew what had to happen, and he didn't give a damn about anything else but achieving the mission. It was pure sacrifice. It was pure purpose. But that's what captains do. Those are the decisions captains make.
The Klingons teach their children that a true hunter always cuts the head off of the beast and eats its still beating heart. So they went after Ramirez. He had rallied the fleet, pushed for the launch of the Ares class, and turned the tide of the war.
Karn thought if you cut off the head, the body would wither. But he didn't plan on us making it out.
Klingons hoped that by taking out Ramirez, it would cripple our morale. But it backfired on them.
The Klingons couldn't have known where we were going to be unless someone tipped them off.
Now that we knew that there was a spy, that gave us that one piece of information we needed to finally bring this damn war to an end.
Now we knew exactly what we were up against and what it might cost us. And I knew more than ever that we needed Axanar.
In the weeks following the loss of the USS Artemis, a dark shadow lingers over the Federation. The newly unleashed D7 warships prove to be all but unstoppable, taking a devastating toll on the Federation fleet. The tide of war quickly turns, and a growing sense of urgency spreads throughout Starfleet Command. However, as preparations to execute Garth's battle plan at Axanar continue, word arrives at Earth that the Vulcan High Council has reached a fateful decision. Vulcan is withdrawing from the war, and the Federation must face this new threat without their strongest member.
So yes, that is a taste of the power of the fan base. What strength in numbers actually can translate into, especially in the dynamic of keeping a story alive. And in this particular case, yeah, it was a story started by somebody else, but I would humbly suggest, aren't all stories? I mean, again, to some degree or another, all of our stories just change scenery, names of characters, but the dynamics, the struggles, the feelings, they're still the same. Doesn't matter if it's taking place, in a Shire and someplace in Middle Earth, or, on Talos 4 in some other universe in a galaxy far, far away. We're only limited by our imagination. But, again, not unlike what just happened with the D&D community, this is not the first time the dynamics of, the underground fan-based communities have been fucked with, and they have responded in ways that really go against the tide. We talk about what we can do to make things different. Well, sometimes it's the things that we don't do that makes a difference, especially in this case. If you believe a company is fucked up, is doing fucked up things, don't buy their fucking products. Okay? You don't have to call them on the phone or harass them. You don't have to leave nasty notes on their Facebook page. Just simply fucking don't give them your money. But the analogy also applies in the dynamic sometimes, and this can be applied across the board. Don't give them your power. Don't give them your attention. Don't give them anything, because that compromises the dynamic and obviously will keep certain things going even if you don't want them to. Not always the easiest thing to do, especially, again, if you're getting it thrown in your fucking face. But we can practice it. And one of the places that you can practice that is selfless plug time for my witch. Yeah, Shiya's Mentorship Circle. It is a private, specialized environment for all kinds of things. And in this particular case, why not let the witch promote herself? I mean, really.
Shameless self-promotion.
Why should I have to?
No, it's
really.
actually,
Why should I have to be the pimp here? You're more than able to pimp yourself.
I'm able to pimp myself,
You
but
go,
hey, strength
girl.
in numbers.
Show Pimp Daddy what he's been missing.
Well, basically, this is a place where you can learn it. I've got over 35 years of esoteric knowledge and shit built up. So I found a place to not only dump my brain out with all the things that I've learned, and I've forgotten more than I realized, and just kind of like going back and redoing it all.
Okay, hold on. First thing, I got to qualify something.
Go ahead.
So what you're basically saying is for a modest fee, I can join your group and you will shit on me?
Well, I will brain dump on you.
Oh, okay. Well, that's different. Never mind. Continue.
But that was an interesting segue there. But no, I mean, basically, we've got
Inquiring minds want to know.
Runes, tarot. We've got our Thursday teachings right now. We've been teaching the tarot. Within that, everybody can learn to read tarot. We have, of course, our weekly group journaling, which is really transformative and helps us, kind of relate and understand ourselves and each other. So it's a beautiful dynamic there. We have the self-paced learning and the guides, which is always there, always available for you. If you're up at 3 a.m. and just can't sleep and just got to get your witchy shit on, boy, let me tell you, there's hundreds of posts there, original content.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, you're also doing a special right now.
Yes, if you would like to join the Mentorship Circle, we do have a 1 month for free. So you can go to ladyshia.com/trial to try it out. We also have a wonderful chat feature that we've been having fun with, and people have been getting lots and lots of support and community and everything like that. And the wolf's even talked a few times on there today.
Yes, and then I skidded.
That's what he says. He's like, okay, I'm in. I dropped in. I dispense my wisdom. I skidded out.
Here is the running joke, but also the truth to some degrees. I tend to, again, I made the joke earlier about I don't just burn the candle at both ends. I throw my candle in a pizza oven.
Oh, yes.
So I have to be very cognitive of that now. And I'm not always the best at it. And as such, I find myself dealing with a lot of different things, just like Shiya does. Yeah. And again, it's not so much to make excuses, but I don't always find myself cognitively doing certain things that I would like to do more of. So sometimes I'll get inspired. The universe will say, hey, you need to say something. Something will jump out at me. Somebody will share something, and I'll relate to it. And then I'm compelled. And not unlike a wolf, you know what I mean? I'll come out of the shadows. I'll check shit out. You know,
around a little bit.
I'll walk around. I'll interact a bit. I might mark a tree.
Yeah, he'll
you know what I
definitely
mean?
pee on something.
I might scratch myself, and I might share a few words. And then a few more people show up. And then, not unlike a wolf, I'm like, okay, there's too many people here. I need to go hide. And I do what I refer to Shiya as I skit. And
there's something to be
into
said.
the shadows I go.
There's something to be said for there's time for peopling and there's time for the self-care and withdraw. You cannot be out in front of everybody all the time. You got to have your you time. I think Gia talked about it earlier. You know, you've got to have that a time apart from everything, but you've got to have that time of involvement as well. And it's finding that proper balance. And that's for everybody. It's not just you or Derek or Jonathan or me. It's for all of us.
Yeah, listen,
Derek's like, I'm a bear. I'm good unless you mess with my shit.
I totally relate to that. And listen, I struggle with this, and a lot of people can relate to this. I can sit here and I can talk with you because I'm comfortable, you know, in that dynamic, and I feel good about it, and I enjoy it and stuff. And I perform as a musician because I enjoy it, and it makes people feel good and all that type of stuff. But I still have the internal dynamic struggle. Sometimes I'm overwhelmed by people and their emotions and their energies, and I feel uncomfortable. Because here's the problem for me. The type of person that I am in my background, because I can read people, I read a lot of the ugly shit. Yeah. So when I'm in situations, and AKA I come across the guy who, to use the earlier analogy, is fucking his daughter, my first response to that dynamic of energy is I want to go full fucking Batman, and I just want to fuck people up. And there was a day many, many years ago that I used my empathy that way, that I would literally hunt people. Okay? And I know my brother Derek understands this analogy. When you have hunted men, there is nothing else that fucking compares to it.
Yeah, but what did the universe do?
Listen, it's a shitty reality, and I own it for what it is. It's also one of the reasons, and I publicly talked about this for many years, why I don't fucking drink. Because me and alcohol is a bad combination for the rest of the universe. Okay? Because I would literally go burn shit down. But again, I understand that dynamic. I own it. I take responsibility, and hence, I don't put myself in that situation. But unfortunately, I still feel this shit. So if I'm in a bar with a whole bunch of people doing a show, and that one scumbag comes into my radar zone, I pick up on that dynamic. Now, again, I've gotten better over the years. I can wear the mask, I can ignore it, but I still feel it. I can still smell the stench of their fucking shitty aura, and it's a lot. It hurts, and I don't enjoy it. So,
and this is why empaths need recovery time.
Fucking avoid it.
Yeah.
It's better for them. It's better for me. It's the lesser, as I like to say, of the two fucking evils.
And as everybody,
Chris, how you doing? Thanks for joining us.
As everybody has learned in this household, sometimes the self-care elements are there for everybody else's benefit. For example, if the witch doesn't have coffee in the morning, it's a bad morning.
Forget about it. Don't try and have a conversation with her. I just get the shitty look.
Oh, I'll snap somebody's head off as soon as I look at them.
Listen, brother, I'm with you. Terry's like, I'm more likely to do something like that stone cold sober. So having the additional moderations not to. Listen, I get it. We're all different. I, again, was different, but, some of it was
We've
also
got to
the
find our
conditioning
balance.
and some of the dynamics. Listen, it's never 100%. That is the paradox of it, is that our experiences, while we can share with certain dynamics, the variables change. You know what I mean? The scenery changes, the characters change. There's a difference between driving on a road when it's raining and when it's not. It's still the same road, but the conditions are different, and hence what everything that plays forward from that is affected by that.
That's kind of why we were talking about earlier, is that, with PTSD or complex PTSD or any other mental health issues, there's no one cookie cutter answer for anybody. It's about finding your own dynamic, what works best for you, and at harm none, do as you will kind of thing.
Listen, I will share a story, and again, I can only say in this particular moment, it felt like the right thing to do. Some people will disagree with it, but I believed it helped the person, so I'm okay with it. So here it is. During a group session, with a group of people, and again, similar context to what the earlier story shown. It was a woman who had experienced sexual trauma, who had been repetitively abused by men in her life, and was just really at the point that she was fucking sick and tired of, hearing, all the analogies and, all men aren't like that, and to get better, and just was really struggling with the inner dynamics, the rage in this particular context. And she had made a statement simply to the fact that she just wished she could just let it go, and all she really wanted to do was to beat somebody up. So me being the kind of idiot guy that I was, and I had done, boxing when I was younger, so, I had done a lot of fighting, I was like, okay, go for it. And literally, she spent a good, probably solid 5 minutes wailing on me, kicking, screaming, freaking out. And at the end of it, everybody in the room basically kind of, came together. My nose got broken. There was some laughter about that. A couple people made the inappropriate humor that they hoped that I wasn't a junkie because therefore my blood may be tainted. Those of you in the early days of AIDS certainly remember that. So it was awkward. It was weird. But afterward, she made it very specific that was the most therapeutic thing she had ever gone through, and then that she was really sorry for hurting me, and that, she hoped I knew it wasn't personal. I was like, listen, I'm the one who said to fucking do it. I'm glad I helped you. And we became friends. And we stayed friends for a good number of years. And, she went her path. I went mine. I ended up having a son, et cetera, et cetera. And in that dynamic, sometimes words, they're not going to change anything. Sometimes we just need to act out. It's, again, as horrible as it sounds, sometimes it is the lesser of the two evils. Now, again, context, really, again, in this applicable case, this was in a controlled environment, and, I obviously was like, yeah, go ahead, use me as a fucking punching bag. Now, can you just do that in any type of given scenario? Obviously not. And so please do not make the case and say, well, the old wolf said that, I could just... No.
They have rage rooms for that.
That's not
these
what
days.
I'm saying. I'm sharing my own personal story of a moment, a dynamic in time where, I felt bad for a person. I understand the dynamic that she was trying to, but because I was a man, I represented the very dynamic of what she was fighting against. So, as the saying goes, I took one for the team. I was like, okay, I will be that guy in that moment because I can. You know what I mean? And it wasn't the first time I had my nose broken, and it wasn't the last time I had my nose broken. And, you know, people felt better. I'm not going to lie, despite getting kind of whooped on a bit, I felt really good about it. I felt like I made a difference. I felt like I helped somebody out. It wasn't a sexual context. It wasn't anything more than somebody
you were being a friend
struggling in the moment. Well, I didn't even really know her. We became friends after that. But, you know, sometimes the things we do are not about anything more than the moment.
I tell you what, I've only had one aspect in my life where I actually let my temper go enough to destroy my room at one point, and it was very cathartic to actually let that rage out for a little bit. Thankfully, they have rage rooms now to where you can pay to go in an hour, beat the crap out of shit.
Yeah, well, listen, whatever works, you know.
But,
and you know, listen, if you're lucky enough, if you got a couple extra bucks and you want to go do that, that's fine. You know, there are different ways to go about it. You know, this is just one example of an analogy that, you know, sometimes the trauma is so deep and so dark that just talking about it, yeah, it isn't going to make a lot of difference. It's very hard, especially if you're deep in that dynamic, to really look at anybody else and feel that, you know, how are you going to connect? How are you going to understand? You know, and especially, listen, I preach this all the time, and I don't want this to sound sexist, but sometimes there are dynamics. Women need other women, and men need other men.
Yes,
okay?
That is true.
Most men are not going to be able to relate to a dynamic of sexual trauma because it simply does not happen to men the same way or in the same frequency as it does happen to women.
You can
That's
empathize,
just
but you'll never
fucking
understand.
reality. Right. We can intellectualize it, and we can empathize it to the certain degree of, wow, that's fucked up, that feels bad, but we do not have the direct correlation. Same analogy, we can intellectualize all we want about childbirth, but unless you have a vagina and you've actually given birth, that is a dynamic experience that men will not have. Now, I also use the same analogy, and Derek understands this, in aspects of other traumatizing things like combat or active combat situations with veterans. And it doesn't matter if you're behind the barrel of the gun or if you're the guy running out there disabling the bombs or you're the guy running out there pulling the blown out bodies from the fucking rubble. Okay, the dynamics vary obviously in regards to the role, but the trauma and the dynamic elements that are going on, unless you've been there, there's no way to equivalate that kind of fucking experience.
Oh,
there
so
just isn't.
Oh, so
you
true.
can't, okay? And that's the truth. That's not to disrespect anybody. That's not to say that there isn't value with intellectualizing it.
Mm-hmm.
But for some people, and then in some moments, the direct connection is what makes the difference. And let me say that again. The direct connection is what makes the difference. AKA, if you're a woman who's been raped and you don't trust men, then you shouldn't be having those conversations with men. They should be had with women.
Yes.
Until you find a place where, or a time that you can, and maybe that doesn't come, and if that doesn't, guess what? That's okay.
That's okay too.
It really is. It's okay. It's part of your pain, and nobody has the right to say that it's any less than, or it's irrelevant, or it doesn't matter, because
or that
it
that's
does.
the wrong way of dealing with it.
Or that, well, listen, there are wrong ways.
There are wrong
ways. I'm sorry, you know, if you're going to go out and start shooting heroin as your justification, no, that is not okay. I understand it. Maybe it feels that way, but I am going to draw hard lines. It's the same analogy, and I've heard this because I've done work in prison and institution settings, and I've heard that argument from a fucking child molester, and that, well, I was damaged, and this was done to me, and
that goes to the analogy of your traumas don't give you the right to hurt other people.
And this is what makes me feel better. And it's just like, yeah, I'm sorry, but no. there is a line, and there are certain lines, unfortunately, that have to be drawn in regards, and, as Derek says, DBT, dialectic behavioral therapy, it helps increase some self-regulation and control of those extremes and how to kind of break it down and, redo the effect on you. Yeah, there's a bunch of different things. We're learning more because we're actually starting to take some of this shit a little bit more seriously.
Because it's
Now,
real. People did. They used to call it shell shock.
We're seeing the effects more.
Yeah.
We've created, to some degrees, generational dysfunction with the breakdowns in how we handle certain aspects of behavioral aspects, be they, direct or indirect.
It goes back to being able to have those conversations. Whereas in the past, you weren't able to. I did a mediumship for somebody the other day who died in the 1960s and had a depression element that they just could not talk about. And they could not be, they to come out and say, hey, I suffer from depression, is to put a crazy stigma label on you. But now we can simply say, hey, I'm suffering from depression. And other people are like, how can we help? Or let's talk about therapy. We can have a different conversation this day and age than we could in the 60s.
I will close it out before doing our last little thing. Context is so incredibly important. When a woman in France heard voices, it was the word of God, and she became Joan of Arc until she was no longer convenient. But, the guy down on 5th and 38 who's talking to his bottle of wine is a worthless piece of shit. And it's a really thin line because of how we are conditioned to think and react. Okay? And it's not to say that, hey, some of this is obviously out of our control, but we do and can talk about it, try and understand it, try and find better ways, and if nothing else, support each other.
Yes.
So listen, it's been a lot of fun. Again, as always, please, again, if you're interested, reach out to LadyShiya.com. You can check out the mentorship circle and,
we'd love to have you.
Try out that. Listen, first month, come check it out. You don't like it? Hey, walk away. Take what you need, leave the rest behind.
It's an amazing support group.
We will definitely, one of the things, and we're going to be doing things a little bit differently. I didn't do any of my promos earlier, and I'm going to close this out that next week, we're going to have Ashley Hart on live. Okay, for those of you who don't know, Ashley Hart, Hart's Creations, Dream Catchers, and other magical type of things. She is actually a friend of ours.
Not only is she a friend, she is an inspiration.
Yes, I call her sister with
As do
all
I.
pure-hearted dynamic because I love her. But she and I are going to actually have a conversation next week about some things. There could be some fuckery. It could be weird. Who the fuck knows? You know me. I go all kinds of crazy places. But we're going to have her on, and we're going to talk about some of those things. We're going to talk about her magic, what she does.
This woman's had an amazing journey, and if you are not here for that conversation,
you can go back and watch it again afterwards. Yeah,
but you'll miss out.
Thing.
You want to watch this one. You want to be.
That's why we do this. So that way this will be here long after we're all gone. And hopefully, listen, again, I look at the analogy as a farmer. We plant seeds, and we try the best we can to raise those seeds so that hopefully they will grow and bear fruit, and that fruit will feed everybody to come. So that's how I'm looking at it. So I'm out there, I'm planting my seeds in you. Yes, don't worry, there's no super gonorrhea involved.
I was going to say, that sounded bad.
I was going to find a way to get the super gonorrhea in there.
Yeah, that's a thing.
So I had to play on my seeding analogy. See how that's how comedy works. You can take a thing, you take an aspect, you can spin it around, you can make it fun, you can make it stupid. Maybe it's weird, I don't know. Go lick a beaver's asshole. It all works out in the end. So one of the things I promised my witch I would do, and I don't like doing it, but I'm going to do it.
Yay!
We have been doing little bits and pieces of things from our Thursday group, okay? And we're having a lot of fun and playing music and stuff like that. But the witch likes to catch these moments of me
in your groove, in your element,
playing my music. Yeah, having unprotected podcasting. I love that. Oh, thank you.
Derek, you rock.
Fucking A, my brother to the rest. Dude, you got to come on the podcast one night and we got to chill and we got to fucking shoot the shit. Whatever. Anytime. Listen, catch up with me. We'll set it up. I miss you, man. All right. So, yes, I'm going to close it out with me. Yes. Must be me. I must be Epstein because, you know, that's how it is.
The song is White Room.
Yes, the song is, listen, it's just a quick
The
clip.
solo is the wolf.
What Shiya decided to do was just, I sometimes go into the fucking zone and I just fucking go fucking bang a gong.
God, I love it.
And, you know, when I get that opportunity to get into my element, you know, it just is what it is. You know, I'm on the inside looking out. So I'm just doing my thing. I'm kind of flowing with it. My hands do what they do, and that's my magic. So, but she's like, yeah, people want to see.
They do.
Listen, you know what? I don't think anybody really wants to see. I think people like my voice. I mean, some people hate my voice, but that's okay. I need haters. You know what I mean? But listen, like, how does a demon survive if there isn't any hate? You know what I mean? So I got to feed my demons. But I'm great at helping other people, just not really good with myself. So
since
even I struggle.
Since he's shit at introducing himself, here is the wolf playing a little bit of a guitar solo from White Room. I feel like this is a real strong element of, as he said, his magic. And I want you guys to see what I see. Because what I see is beautiful. Yeah, okay, whatever. He's fucking awesome, no matter how much noise he's making about it. So here it is.
All right, so yeah, it's 1 minute. I have to suffer. So you must all suffer with me. And then we'll be back next week, and Ashley Hart will be with us, and it'll be fun, I'm sure. And keep your stuff coming. You know, Wolf at oldwolfmusic.com. Music, poetry, stories, ideas, questions, whatever. Okay, send it. We want it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Remember, you are loved, and remember to try your best to love. And until then, enjoy a minute in the White Room. You're all grounded. It's time to go to bed. See, why is everybody still here? You see, this is what happens. This is what happens every time. I try and shut the fucking show down, and there's still numbers here. So
they wanted to see you play.
Like, now all of a sudden I'm compelled that I have to come back here. I have to continue this show. Everybody should have gone to bed. Someone's going to get in trouble. This is what happens. See, this is the beauty of a live show as well, too. So you can all of a sudden just fucking, hey, guess what? Yeah, now I'm back. I decided, you know what? I do what I want. Okay? Don't tell me what to do. So, yeah.
I'm going to bed.
I can't close the show out like that. You know what I mean? I just can't. I can't do it. It's not right. It's just.
Well, I'm going to go get on your big breast bed, so I'll be.
Oh, it's like that. Well,
like that.
See, how does one fight that particular dynamic? You know, these are the things, again, that I think most of us struggle with in these moments. It's just like we spin around in our heads. Should I stay? Should I go? The letters in the air for the encores. Yeah, man. No, listen. You know what I mean.
The universe is balanced on the back of a koala.
He's smiling. What does he know? And why is he laughing? So, yeah. For those of you who didn't know, yes, the universe is balanced on the shoulder of a giant koala bear. True fact. See, this is maybe that's why I had to stay here. I had to share the answer to the universe and all. Yes, it's not 42. Okay. That was just a marketing ploy. Okay. Keep people off the fucking trail. The koala doesn't want everybody coming and fucking up his shit and stuff like that. He values his space. But he'll still, he'll carry the weight of the universe on his shoulders, smiling and laughing the whole time. What's he smoking? I don't know. I haven't gotten any yet. I'm still searching. But if you know where to find it, let me know. So I think I am going to close it out tonight with something a little bit harder. And it's one of my favorite tracks versus some of the others. I mean, granted, they're all representations. Demons is a very dark dance, but Just Like You was basically done, for those of you who know, for a friend of ours. His name is DJ. DJ, if you or your mom are still out there listening, or if you're listening to another time, I love you guys. Bug, love all of you. I hope you're doing fucking great down there. But this track really was born of that dynamic, just of a moment between, people in this circle, people in this, core, my family, you know what I mean? So that type of dynamic, that raw connection sometimes is incredibly powerful. And this track really, again, was a one-off for all intents and purposes. We pulled this together, we recorded the tracks, and I had originally done a very basic vocal track that was just basically 4 words, you know what I mean? And Matt Brown, my brother, love you, did an incredible job with this song and really just added the rest of the glue to kind of really just frame this. And, again, say what you want. We all have our different ways that we express ourselves. For me, this is my ultimate expression. My guitar is my staff. It's where I channel a lot of my magic. Granted, I'm able and gifted to be able to communicate. I can read people, so I can translate very well. I can understand. But music's where it all began for me. So I am now officially 18 minutes past the hour.
Really?
Yes, it is. I'm now going to close it out with Just Like You. So, little brother DJ, love you. Brother Derek, love you. Everybody, I love you.
I love you.
And remember, I'm just like you.